From the gory action scenes of Sons of Anarchy to the Mayans M.C.'s take on a Latino criminal's American dream, here's the verdict on which is superior. But first, where's the comparison coming from? The wild and rebellious world of Sons of Anarchy, the crime drama action series, kept fans on the edge of their seats for the entirety of its 7-season run. Created by the brilliant Kurt Sutter, the show delves into the thrilling lives of an outlaw motorcycle club in California. As the story unfolded, we witnessed the characters grappling with love, loyalty, brotherhood, and betrayal. And with each season, the plot thickened. The stakes got higher, which left the fans begging for more. To curb this issue, Sutter decided to treat his fans to another spin-off series, Mayans M.C. This time around, we followed Ezekiel "Easy" Reyes, who's a prospect for the Mayans Motorcycle Club, who, as you know, has had a long and complicated relationship with Sam Crow. Easy's been through some real heavy shit, most of it wasn't fair at all. So, fueled by rage and a thirst for revenge, he plunges into a dangerous path that he never expected. And viewers watch as he makes questionable choices while fighting with his demons. Now, although Mayans boasts an entirely new cast and storyline, it remains true to its roots as a spin-off. If you're an OG fan, you'd love to see some familiar faces make appearances here and there. And there are consistent references to Sam Crow, but in a way so subtle that it feels completely natural. What can I say? Sutter's done a brilliant job with world building. The two plots are connected seamlessly and have a ton in common. If you're hesitating still, you might want to hit that play button, because Mayans have more in common with Sons of Anarchy than you might expect from the themes that run through them, like loyalty, betrayal, and family. Due to the striking similarities between characters, the spin-off pays homage to its predecessor in more ways than one. Take Easy, for example. He may be a new character, but he shares many similarities with Jax. Both of them are confused and lost about their place in the world. And we can definitely see a young Jax shining through Easy's character. But he's not the only one. Even the president of the Santo Padre Charter, Bishop Losa, reminds me of Clay from SOA. They were both soldiers after all. But it's not just the character traits that remind us of the original series. The actual characters make appearances throughout the storyline, in the most unexpected ways to keep the fans reeled in. Who could forget the jaw-dropping shock of finding out who murdered Easy's mother? Don't worry, I won't give you a spoiler, but the way they tied that to a character from SOA in an unseen twist was something, and the tie-ins didn't stop there. The Mayans even name-dropped Jax in Season 2 when they were discussing a new arrangement for supplying the cartel. And when they decided that Sam Crow could help by going under the radar, fans were happy to see the relationship between Mayans, and the original show continued long after Jax's death, even if it did turn sour. These are just a few examples of the subtle, clever, and not to mention the critically acclaimed ways in which Mayans theorize its relation to SOA. And according to Elgin, James, the war between the two clubs is definitely continuing into the 5th and final season of the spin-off. So one thing's for sure, fans of the original show will find plenty to love in it. But even though there are endless similarities between them, they are two distinct shows. Right off the bat, we've got the most apparent difference in the setting. Sons takes place in charming California, and is for the most part pretty white. On the other hand, Mayans is set in Santo Padre, which is on the border of Mexico. Now, I know we covered the similarities between our protagonists, but there are a lot of things that aren't common between the two men. Jax's story is more of a top-down kind of approach as he's the head of his gang. And Easy is the opposite since he's starting from the bottom. So while we never got to see Jackie's journey to the top and the growth he probably went through, we get to see that struggle in Ezekiel's story. It's cool because it gives you a fresh perspective on the outlaw motorcycle club world. On top of that, our struggling prospects have one hell of a memory. And that sets him apart from everyone, even Jax Teller the King. As for the plot and structure, it seems like there are a lot of things that Sutter learned while working on SOA. It's pretty obvious in the cohesion of the Mayans plot. The spin-off is fast-paced from the get-go, and the different subplots are bound together seamlessly. SOA would often have filler episodes after some action-packed ones, which would honestly disrupt the flow. That's probably why this time around, each episode gets its fair share of everything, from action to flashbacks to subplots. This brings me to a prominent issue in Sons. which might have been fun for some, but for most, it was too much. I'm talking about the over-the-edge action filled with violence, like the time Jax and Tara slept together mere feet away from Cone's fresh corpse. Pretty brutal. No wonder fans are enjoying the slower cinematic take on the Mayans. It takes time to develop characters and build tension, which makes the payoff even more satisfying. And that's what draws in all those fans. Countless Reddit threads have been dedicated to this topic as fans of the original show try to figure out where the spin-off stands. After a long run of Teller's action-packed storyline, some fans appreciated the fresh perspective that Sutter brought with the spin-off. The shift from a predominantly white cast was appreciated, especially since it brought attention to immigration issues faced by Latinos. Others are enjoying the show's slightly slower pace and more grounded approach, which they feel allows for deeper character development. But some point out that the storyline is also quite clever, filled with symbolism and clues, which makes the entire series seem much more well thought out. And that's something everyone wants to see in a show. For these fans, the realistic outlook on motorcycle gangs makes the show worth their while. And of course, some just connect more with the characters and storylines of the spin-off, but there's no shortage of those who would pick Sons of Anarchy over it any day. On the other hand, fans argue that Mayans just don't have the same level of intensity. They miss the heart-pumping action scenes and the sense of danger that was always present in the original show. Because of that, it just didn't quite pull them in. That's not the only complaint fans on Reddit have. They also believe that the spin-off lacks the kind of complex characterization that SOA had. Some of the female fans have even pointed out the lack of a strong female lead like Gemma in Mayans. Being hardcore fans of the critically acclaimed crime drama, they were expecting the spin-off to be a lot more like it. But instead, they found that it didn't have that thing that pulled them into SOA. That's why fans of both shows claim you shouldn't expect that. Similarities and differences aside, both series are pretty good if you look at them as standalones. Sons had an insanely good response back when it was released, and though that's what prompted the creation of the spin-off, maybe they shouldn't be compared. At least that's what fans of Sutter's universe say. According to them, the biggest mistake some fans make is going into the spin-off expecting it to be just like the original, which is never the case. A sequel and a spin-off are two distinct things. So while SOA is filled with white men and action, that might be too violent for some, but it's someone else's perfect cup of tea. In the same way, the Mayan story-oriented approach is much better for others. And that's all I've got on which of the two shows is better.